Hello and welcome back to Beyond the Try Line in partnership with SOCS. This is your weekly podcast looking at everything Daily Mail Trophy. We're coming to the crescendo of what has been an unbelievable season. How lucky we've been to reporting on it through the podcast, SOCS TV. But I'm Russ McCluskey. He's Phil Greenaway. Mate, how are you?
Yeah, I'm brilliant, mate. Really, really good. Just can't believe the season's coming to an end. And it was an absolute privilege to be at Cheltenham College on Saturday and watch the Acton Cup game between them and Rugby, and then back in your company on Tuesday, which was a brilliant game of rugby. Rugby versus Marlborough, which again just sort of echoed the standard of schoolboy rugby has just gone through the roof, and two sides who aren't really necessarily in the conversation about the Daily Mail Trophy in terms of winning it. But tell me that wasn't an outstanding game of school.
So I was Monmouth Kingswood, and that was an unbelievable game of rugby. With Monmouth, I think they were 12-7 up at one point. Kingswood yellow card, incredible scenes. The weather was minging, as you can imagine, in South Wales, as it always is. It was coming over the hills. It's quite amazing. But the thing I got from both the games I was at, and you talk about that Rugby Marlborough College one, it felt like a final, didn't it? It had the feeling of a final because the lads are playing their last game for their school. Those upper six boys going out, and it meant everything to them. We had the entire school community at rugby out watching it. There were parents, there were grandparents, aunties, uncles. The boarding houses had emptied. They were crowding our gazebo, weren't they, mate? I mean, at one point you could only see about half the pitch, bless you, 5'8". But it was some spectacle, wasn't it? And then the lad Talbot, the lad who's been involved England under 18s at fly half, kicking the 40-metre penalty with the wind behind him, with the rain all over him, with I think his scrum half holding the ball on the tee. What a massive moment, the last moment of the game. Incredible scenes.
Yeah, it was magic, and I think it sort of encapsulates everything that we've spoken about on the pod this year. And I'm not tired of saying it, and I won't apologise for keep saying it. The school rugby scene at the moment is probably as healthy as it's ever been. There's lots of bits that, we could do better around certain things, and I'm sure we'll get into that with our guest today. But in general, rugby has come under a really, really tough microscope in the last few years. But if you go and watch a schoolboy game on a Saturday, you can't fail but be impressed.
It's been awesome. And if we quickly go to the table, because lots of schools have played their last game, and we're incredibly fortunate that our guest they haven't played their last game, and we're going to come to him in a second. And they say, don't they? They say the old adage, the cream rises to the top. In at 10th, Clifton College, we had Danny and Matt on earlier in the season, and they certainly weren't in and around the top 10, were they? But they've had a fantastic run to it. Campion from Essex, a school that have been in the top 10, feels like the entire season. I might be wrong, but I think they have. Epsom College, as we know, have been going well. Radley, super programme over there, they're 7th. Brighton College, 6th. And again, they'd spent a lot of time this season outside of the top 10, outside of the top 20. So they've had a super second half of term. So Tommy Ritchie's, we will come to them in a sec. They're at 5th. You've got Ipswich, a school I mentioned. I mean, Ipswich have played 12 games in this Merit Table League, won 10, lost 2. They're in 4th. Wellington College in at 3rd. Northampton School for Boys 2nd, Sedbergh 1st. We've got one game essentially coming up this Saturday. We're recording Thursday morning after I was at Mumford & Sons last night at the O2. So I'm probably sounding a wee bit hoarse, but it's all to play for. I just want to introduce our guest. The last time I saw this man face to face was at Twickenham. We were having a pint of Guinness after an under-15 cup final. Phil Beaumont, thank you so much. Director of Rugby at Northampton School for Boys. How are you, mate? Are you well?
Yeah, really well. Thank you for having me. It's been great to listen to you guys all season for both the rugby and the Director of Sport podcasts. I think you're doing great things, and it's great to share the audience wider and be able to talk through everyone's messages and hear what's going on inside people's schools.
You're an absolute legend, mate, for coming on, because I know it's an incredibly busy week for you, and you're a couple of days out from a massive game against the Tommy Ritchie's on Saturday. I'm not going to steal your thunder. Do you just want to explain to the audience where we're at with the Daily Mail Trophy League?
The Daily Mail Trophy has been something we've always been outside the top 10 on, so it's totally new to us this year, and we've started to be in the top 5 and getting more spotlight as such. So we're going into our last game. We've got Sir Thomas Rich. I believe we've done the calculations. We've had the maths department, we've had the headmaster going through all the numbers. We need to win, and we need to score four tries to get the bonus point. It's all to play for, but it's in our hands as such, which is quite a nice place to be. All our games this year, we've scored a try bonus point, apart from on Tuesday in the pouring rain in Seaford, which we'll come back to in a second. But yeah, we're in a good place. The having team meetings, getting everything prepped, and trying to balance player load with preparation.
Mate, listen, I mean, what a game for it to come down to, you know. So Tommy Riches have had a good season as well. They're in the top 10, and they run a fantastic program. How much do you know about them, Phil? What's the insider knowledge? Those boys from Gloucester will be coming across to you. They'll be trying to take that trophy away from you guys. What do you know about them?
Yeah, it's lovely. Tommy Rich have been on our circuit traditionally for decades now, since I was here in 2010, and we've always had great games against them. They've got good links with Gloucester Academy. Reese does a fantastic job there as another state school flying the flagship for what state school rugby we can do. We're looking forward to a proper ding dong. We're fortunate to be at home. We went there last year. I had a close game, but ended up on the wrong side of the score sheet. Which Reese, I'm sure, will remind me on Saturday of. And it's going to be another competitive game where you're going to see the last game for the year 13s running out. And that is huge for every school, as most of the schools have played. They know how much it means to them. They've had a 7-year journey. Most of our boys are with us from all the way from year 7 all the way through to year 13, and the same for Tommy Rich. So it's an emotional day. It is every year. It'll be great to watch those boys go hammer and nail at each other, and what should be a great showcase for schoolboy rugby generally.
And you just mentioned the upper sixth there, Phil. That's the year group I know only too well. I wouldn't say they still haunt me. Maybe they do. Phil's been winding me up about it on it. It feels like therapy. They're an outstanding group of boys, aren't they? They really are, with Shields at fly half, and what an incredible group. You got Tonga Weir in the second row. Has he been playing a bit of back row for you as well?
Yeah, that group's fantastic. A nod to Hugh Shields, has been captain all the way through with you 15s, won the National Cup, and then followed that through already. Unfortunately, he's got an injury. He got injured in the last game. He's got a broken ankle. Just come out of an operation, so he'll be on the side, watching but supporting the boys and acting more in that supportive coaching role. But he's still a fundamental part of the team. His little brother, to be fair, in the game, Finn, stepped up. He got injured, went off the pitch. Finn stepped up in the game, and then went and played fly half and continued to play. So we're in a great position where we're not looking at just one or two superstars that are making the difference. We've got a whole depth of squad that are playing NSB rugby and the DNA and NSB rugby, and we've managed to characterise a way the school play, which is great. But you're right. We've got six internationals, which is unbelievable. Something the school's never had, and I don't think many schools have ever been in that scenario. We found that when we played Sedra, because they were all on international duty, and we had to go to the depths of the squad. I've looked this morning. 34 boys have played first team rugby this year for us, which is fantastic. It's great to see them stepping on the field and putting on a first team shirt, because it's about making experiences for those boys when they've committed so much of their time to school. It's great to see that pay the reward back, and then go those opportunities, and hopefully they'll have the memories where they go on at university, go and tell their future partners and children.
Magic. Phil, and before we come to your season, I know you guys went on tour pre-season, and lots of the directors of rugby and the heads of rugby we've had on have explained just how important that tour has been in their development of their season, which meant they could hit the ground running. Give us a bit more about the tour, the thought process behind it, how it builds into your program at NSB.
Wow, tours really special. We do tour differently. We self-organise it. One, to keep costs down, but two, I'm a little bit of a control freak, and I like to have a bespoke package that works really well. And when you've got something that works, why change it? So we go to South Africa every 2 years. We changed the model, so it wasn't just going at the end of year 11, but it meant it was year 11 and 12 combined. And it meant that every child in the school got an opportunity to therefore go on tour and now get a similar experience. So we go to South Africa, we stay in Cape Town and then Paarl and Stellies. So we go to Stellenbosch. We can stay in the same hotels. We go into Stellenbosch Academy for Sport. They have what is a 4-day program, of a professional program, where we work them hard and treat them like professional players. And we start off with a nice easy game against Paul Roos. So go straight into it. We've got the same fixtures every year, and we've managed to create a traditional block on tour as such. So we've now played Paul Roos since 2015, and do it every 2 years, which is really nice. And we play for a cup, which works really well. We then go across and get on a Saturday fixture card, and For those of you who've been to South Africa, when I say rugby is religion, literally the whole town come out on a Saturday and schoolboy rugby is the pinnacle. It's like going to the Prem Cup final just to watch a Saturday block. It's a fantastic experience. So we're really privileged, and we go play Pal Boys on their fixture card on a Saturday and get to be in that build up to watch the first team. We've got a really good relationship with Bowland Lambo, which are the big agriculture college. And those boys have eaten steak since they were 2. They are some big boys out there. When your scrum half's bigger than our tight head, you know something's not going quite right. And we have a great opportunity with them. And we managed to repay the favour. They came over to us on a cricket tour last year, and we managed to therefore support them in that. And again, we've played them since 2015. And then we go and play a township school, which is a little bit more special. So we go and support the township school. We fund their capping night, and we get invited to their capping night. So we get to experience a little bit of behind the scenes South African culture of schoolboy rugby, which you can't just do if you go on holiday or don't have that relationship. So we support them that way, which is a great experience. And we do a joint coaching session. So we do it as an exhibition game. The day before, we actually go, right, let's try and learn off the South African coaches. Let's try and give a bit back as well, and talk to them about what we do inside our environments, and have 70 boys with a mixture of English and Afrikaans and the township language that's occurring in between all of the conversations. And it's a great experience for the coaches. It's a great experience for the players. And then we showcase it, and they get all their school out, and we watch this great showcase game where the scorelines are relevant, and we look at actually just trying to demonstrate 2 different styles of rugby. And the township boys, they run it from everywhere. They play like Zebra. They catch the ball, quite happy to play off their own line, and they could step a man in a phone box. They're phenomenal. And then we do a little bit of work with a charity. So we do work with McQueenie Primary School, which is a school that is in a township, and we've gone there, and we've gone from doing rugby sessions and donating t-shirts, which felt great on the first time we did it, to realise that they needed more. So then we donated English and maths books and pens to try and ensure all the students had enough to learn. And then I realised I got it wrong, and rather than guessing what they needed, I started to ask them. So we built them a new school fence during COVID because they were getting burgled for all the valuables, and that's now there. It keeps the children safe. And last time we went, we built a new food preparation container because the one they had held holes in the floor. It's smaller than my garden shed, and they're feeding 1,500 children. The reality over there was they go to school, one, to be safe and get fed, and then the education's the bonus on top of that to try and give them a route out. So we have this ongoing charity work that we do. I've got all the first team rugby boys on stage next week doing a song and dance for our big showcase X Factor event, and all that money goes to charity, and lots of that money goes to there, which will help continue that project. So but you're talking about building boys together, and it probably set us up for the season because you get that tight-knit environment where the boys really bond, and you go into pre-season and you've already had 10 sessions on your building skill set, going through tactical line out play and how we want to play as a season, and going through and being ready to hit the ground running as such, because that summer block's hard. It's really hard for us. Some of the boys end up in the academy. We don't know if boys are going to get the grades to come back. For one, or if they're going to go to a local college, and we try our best to keep them, and we run a BTEC course as well that supports the rugby. And then you've got Reading and Leeds, which I know doesn't hit many schools, but all our students seem to love to go to Reading or Leeds. And it's that week block where you can't do a full camp, and they all come back with flu. So it's trying to balance that pre-season, because it seems that all the top schools now are putting in something prior to that first game, because the Daily Mail trophy's crucial to try and hit the ground running, and the season's so short, you haven't got time to build as you go. You want to be on the money straight away and having a good representation of what the boys can do.
Yeah, Reading and Leeds, Boardmasters. There'll be a few listening to this now going, oh, Jesus Christ, those music festivals put pay, don't they? Lads coming back in all sorts of states. But Phil, I mean, unbelievable and brilliant story there to hear about. Actually, you're focusing on the person, and it's more than rugby, isn't it? Often when we're developing these young men, and they're a cracking group of men that you are developing. If we dive into your fixture list, you've mentioned Sedbergh there. You mentioned the fact that you had lads out on international. That was 43-37. I mean, that one stood out. What a game that was. I just want to talk about the draw as well against Millfield, 36-all. Do you just want to talk about a couple of those games? Because if you look on the Schools Rugby website, it's quite amazing, isn't it, when you scroll down some of the games you've been involved in?
We've worked really hard to try and develop our fixture card, and 10 years ago it looked totally different. It's the first time we played Millfield, and what an experience that was at first team. It's great to go down to Millfield. John Mallett's excellent, really good mentor and probably stakeholder for schoolboy rugby, and trying to drive and grow the game. So we really appreciate. I've worked with him now for probably 5 years trying to create that to happen. So to go down there and get a draw when both teams played some fantastic rugby again, as you talked about right at the start, schoolboy rugby is on the up and it's a really positive thing. And every fixture you see, whether it's on a live stream or whether you're involved in it, is showing how high quality schoolboy rugby now is, and the boys wanting to play with ambition. So 36 all. I sat afterwards in the dugout going, shoulda, woulda, coulda. But actually, the reality is to be even in that mix and be able to have a competitive fixture, 36 all was probably the right result. And both teams left with their heads held high and just having put on what is hopefully the first of many. I've just, in conversations with everybody trying to organise a fixture card for next season, trying to make sure it's as good as this season, to give those boys special moments. As I talked about the tour, it's things that people go and remember. Going down and seeing Millfield's facilities are special for the boys, special for the players, and an away trip's a nice thing to do. And I like tour. I think a long bus journey actually helps the group grow as well, and we're used to them. When you look at Millfield and Sedbergh and Gloucester and Ipswich, yeah. So I think that was a real showcase of schoolboy rugby, and they always are up there, and every time they play, they justify why. Sedbergh, we got to play at home, which was great. Noxie looked after me before he left and managed to give me a home fixture. I've just been on the phone to Sam, and we're going the other way next time. But again, 7 tries apiece. We made that our big showcase event. We had governors, we'd invited sponsors, we'd invited old boys back. I managed to put on an old boys lounge for them before, and it's great we managed to flood the sidelines. I think there was 500 people here. We got a live stream involved. We made that being the big marquee home game of the year. And didn't the boys deliver from both sides? They both played. We played our DNA, which looks very similar to the Saints. We want to play the ball, keep the ball alive, move the ball around. And Sedbergh's DNA is well known that they'll attack the wide challenge and channels and try and outplay you. And when two teams are doing exactly the same, it's fantastic to watch. I watched a Premiership game later in the weekend, and it was nowhere near as entertaining or as exciting. Yeah, so really special opportunities, and thank you to the schools for us being on their card. We have, as I said, our fixture card has changed, because we're quite columnar. So we've got we're really lucky. We've got 220 boys in a year group, but we don't have games afternoons. We don't have rugby being compulsory. They all turn up after school to do training sessions, and there's no expectation for any student or staff to be there on a Saturday. So you try and ingrain this culture that NSB and rugby are simonious, and the boys buy in. 10 years ago, we used to have 80 boys turn up for a trial, and we'd say rugby was for everybody, and we'd let them all train. But I only have 2 B team fixtures a year, and you suddenly work out that actually, by the time you get to year 8 and under 13s, there aren't that many people still training, because they haven't had the opportunities. So creating that culture at Saturday is a rugby day, and that is part of our school DNA, has been crucial, and also allowed us to play fixtures that have been challenging, and we've had 3 years of it being very challenging till this point where we started it to be competitive, with those games, and all those games have been close. 36-36 at Millfield, losing out from 2 conversions against Sedbergh. They've been fantastic spectacles, and things that the boys will remember forever.
Mate, it's fantastic, and I can hear the passion and the enthusiasm and the energy, from your voice. I mean, I'm excited to go and play rugby, even as a 47-year-old man listening to you. It's fantastic. But you've been there a long time, Phil, and it wasn't always like this. This has been built on some solid foundations that you've put in dedication and hard work, a recognition from the school and the school's senior leadership team that this is important. It's important to the town in Northampton as well. Give us a few things, what was it like? You mentioned it briefly there, but how have you gone about changing that culture? What have been the important things? The link with Saints, the buy-in from parents. How have you generated all of that to this point where you are now, where you're sitting there potentially about to be the first state school to win the Daily Mail Schools trophy? And by the sounds of it, you're going to be right up in the mix next year as well, and for the foreseeable future.
So 15 years ago, I was taking a 12As with 60 boys, or 12, so the whole of the year sevens by myself in the dark on the bottom level with no floodlights, trying to plough on through the winter. At our school, we took them all the way through the age group. So you stay with your age group. So you coach everybody till 16s, and then you hand it over to the first team and the seniors. I never want to do that again, and we can offer something better. And after having been through the process, I went, actually, we're doing a disservice to the boys, and it's because of our infrastructure. I am very fortunate. I've got a fantastic head teacher who is really supportive, and we've got a chair of governors who came to the school, who will also run touch for me for every cup game, and is regularly seen on a Saturday. So it's managing up, and I've heard that lots on your Director of Sport podcasts, but sharing how important rugby is and how much it does for the students and how well the program can be. And then we had to look and remold it, because when I was doing that, there was 5 teachers that did rugby, and that was it. And you can't put out 7 teams with 5 teachers, never mind have an A and a B. So I had to go, right, what have we got? And we are, as you said, we are a hub and a mecca for rugby in Northampton. I've got 3 rugby clubs, 2 that are on the proximity of the school, and another one less than a mile down the road, that all have got good quality programs from under 6s all the way up. So we have some boys that have already played, which is a fantastic start, and the clubs do a really good job with them when they arrive already and through. And then I went, right, let's look at that New Zealand model. How can we get schoolboy rugby to therefore work with the clubs better? Because I had a sideline full of parents that were experienced, coaching the local community, played previously, and I've gone, rather than come and watch, come and join us, come and make us better, come and give your boys, our boys, the best experience they could possibly get. So we started to look and bringing them in at volunteers, and SLT were happy to support that, and we did all the bureaucracy and correct lines to get them across and become members of staff. And we now have them as casual working staff on part-time contracts, that's what changed it. Initially, by working with the clubs to get more staff on the ground allowed me to put on more fixtures, and that meant that now we have 4 members of staff, 1 teacher, and 3 coaches from the community with each age group, which obviously means you can have a coach at A, B, C, D. It means by the time you get to 14s, you've got an A and a B. You can have a forwards coach and a backs coach, and you're coaching. You're not facilitating. And there's a really good place for facilitating and allowing sport to take place, but having an impact where you can coach and develop players on the back of competitive fixtures where they're being challenged, sees that rise of skills, rise of motivation, rise of desire to be part of rugby and wanting to be better. And the whole thing created that culture, and it spiraled. There's no doubt it spiraled, and we started to see success lower down with cup runs. And then if you look at the performance tables, you started to look at those, and the coaches become wanting to leave the shirt in a better place, and the coaches that are coming up want to better the year they've gone before and give their children the best opportunities as well. And to then change the fixture card to do that has put us in a great place and allowed us to go and find the fixtures that have been good across the board, and that's driven that. So I've now got 40 people that are involved in rugby on a Saturday. Some of them give me once a week, some of them give me 3 times a week, some of them are here full time. We've got a couple that do other subjects, and then the link with the Saints, we've got a really strong link with Northampton Saints, and we really appreciate what they do. We had that link, and we went and approached them and went, right, rather than go against each other's programs, let's try and work out how we can facilitate what you do. And we started to talk about some of that common terminology, some of that philosophy of the way they attack and defend, and have gone, our job's to try and give these boys the best opportunity they can. And if that's therefore trying to support them so they know what the next step looks like already, they'll be in a better place if they ever get that opportunity. And if they are already in that environment, cohesive language allows therefore the transition across the environments to be simplified and more effective. And it also means that we now have Mark Hopley and Charlie come in and see us and do a little bit of individual support work with our senior boys, but again, will come and support and have done some coach ed sessions, and they have been so supportive and open to do that. And I understand that it's easier because we're less than a mile down the road and not everyone's in that scenario, but you have to have a look at your own environment and go, what are the 1% things I can do? What are the things we could try and make a change for? The last 2 years have now been about budget because I've built this monster that we can't afford. And it's like, how do we make it so we don't have to take a backward step and we can keep driving this such special opportunity and sport forwards on the national stage and on a weekly basis for every player, D all the way through to first team, because they all get so much from the game, all the way through that journey. How do we make sure that continues? So we've now got sponsors that are putting up pitchside banners, which we stole from the idea of St Joe's Festival. I've just confirmed a match ball sponsor because I can't afford to buy the right quality match balls, and they've now just come in and bought that, which is fantastic. We've got lots of supportive parents that want to sponsor kits, but it's for things like the medical tape. Nobody wants to sponsor medical tape. And so it's looking at the program, keeping it in a strong place, trying to make sure that you can facilitate everything and how you try and keep transport costs down. So there's often times where we're both sat on a minibus driving because I want to take more players, but I can't afford another bus.
Phil, it's truly remarkable. And Phil and I went to state schools, and the first school I worked in was a state grammar school where, as you said, we put an A team out every age group, but it was just me. That was it. The P department was 3, and I was doing it. And I wish I'd have met Phil Boymon all those years ago when I was 22 to crack the code as to what you've got to do. And you've got to throw human resource at it. You've got to throw time at it. Of course, you need a little bit of money. But the message I'm hearing there, mate, is that it's pupil-centred. At the end of the day, you're putting the boys at the centre of every decision. And you're never going to get it wrong, are you? We say it in our other podcasts, if we put the pupils first, you'll make great decisions time and time again. And then just looking at your succession planning, I know your under-15s coming through have had a great season, haven't they? You've got now these year groups stacked up. You've got these players stacked up. But it's more than that. You've got a culture and an ethos where the lads see it. If you see it, you believe it, don't you? If you see the lads finishing top of the Daily Mail Trophy League, you believe when it's your time and you put that first 15 shirt on, you've got a chance of doing it as well.
Yeah, you're right. We have that idea of trying to look up at the first team and put them as a pinnacle. So for every game we have, we try and create a tunnel, which again we stole from South Africa. So all our players come out. So they're not franchises. They realise there's a pathway through, and you're united as one group, and they clap each other onto a pitch. And the same, I had a 14s game yesterday where we had every other age group stood there as a tunnel, and they all ran through it. And again, that's a memory for a player. It's those things that actually aren't about the final result, but it's about the ideology you're creating for the boys to become united and a bit of almost a brotherhood, that they play rugby all the way through and they've got connections with different AA groups and they look up at the first team. Hugh Shields right now, hopefully as a first team captain, boys in year 7 watch him play, look up to him and want to emulate what he does in the future. Which is, it's a very special thing to do. I am very fortunate. I've got some fantastically passionate coaches that go above and beyond, and lots of them have boys in the program and they want to do it for their boys, but all the coaches that don't give exactly the same amount of energy. They're phenomenal, and we've got a low turnover of staff. People who work here don't leave. I had to wait for someone to retire to get a job when I moved to Northampton, which was great. And Norman Barker was a fantastic foundation for where we are now, before he passed away, and he's a local legend in the local community. Mark Lee retired as director of rugby and had built foundations for that previously. And I'm now getting to step into those shoes and drive us forward again. It's lots of people that have given their life and time over decades to drive us to where we are, and we're starting to see that positive ball rolling. If you look at performance tables, they're doing well on every Saturday, but ins upwards are still in every cup as well. It's the change of a model that's seeing the success rather than just having a couple of good year groups or standout players.
Mate, that's fantastic to see. And you mentioned about creating memories. I imagine that the game on Tuesday against Seaford College will be one that sticks in the memory for a long time. I was sent the winning score, which was brilliant. And similar to that, I was sent by Nick Boy the sort of penalty kick from their guy to beat Wellington, and we watched a kick go over last play of the game. Our first game when we did collegiate versus BGS, there was a wonderful try at the end of the game to draw the game. All those memories. But that Seaford College game must stand out in the memory for you. Going down there, a tough old day on the bus, as you said, and coming away from there with a good win, because they run a good program down there as well at Seaford. They're great guys down there. So that must have really, really set yourself up for this weekend. But that game, talk us a bit through that game.
Seaford on Tuesday. If you talk about an institute that has rugby that runs through its DNA, Seaford College, we were really special to be part of it. We were playing for the Headmasters Cup as he therefore retires this year. He'd previously been head of rugby there twice. Had a whole story of Seaford College through again decades of putting that into it. And it meant so much to those boys there. And they came out absolutely firing. It was wet and sodden. You couldn't have worn trainers. We were digging out the 22mm studs just to stand up. It was like the old days. And they did a great job of like putting the game on because they were squeegeeing the pitch to get the water off it. They went 12-0 up in the first half and threw the kitchen sink at us and got the go forward. To be fair, scored good tries, and we were well and truly on the back foot, going 12-0 down at the half. Let's go and have a good team talk. Dropped to 17-0. The coaches are a little bit in the panic stations. The boys still had belief that they could go and score and were playing good rugby. They just hadn't finished the opportunities. And that belief, I think, has come from the back of a strong season where we've been behind before and come back and won. The boys pulled together. Caelan Chin did a great job of captaincy, managing to keep them sticking to the process and not trying to do anything different, knowing that actually, if we're patient, we'll get time to therefore go. 10 minutes to go, though, we need 2 tries to win, and there's a kickable penalty. And as coaches, we're having a discussion very quickly of whether the team's being run on or not. We kick the corner, end up scoring a try. We are 4 points down, so with 3 minutes to go, there's that moment where we know we've got to just keep the ball and score. The coach killer comes in as I'm on the radio going, make sure, get the message on to keep the ball. A little chip over the top, give the ball away. Back in number 22. The Seaford boys played and managed the game really well, and we were fortunate to be in the last play, get back in their 22, take a scrum, and play a strike move, which got us over the line. The last 30 seconds, if you get to watch it ever on that live stream, you'll see our boys celebrating so much, and you could just see what schoolboy rugby means to the boys and the game, and what it does either way. Sean does a fantastic job with that programme for the size of the school that they are. To be 25th, I think they are, in the Daily Mail Trophy, and having a fantastic season. They well and truly took it to us, and we nicked it at the last minute. So really good presentation, but again, a different way of putting on a showcase. That was the emotive game where lots of their boys had their final game for year 13, and it meant the world to them. And to have a game that was so close was exactly what everyone wants to see as a neutral. Heart feelings go out to Seaford because unfortunately probably stole their party on a last minute moment. But our boys threw everything at it to be in it, and that's sport. And that's why it's so special.
It's amazing, isn't it? And we've seen so many close games. You look down all the fixtures, you look down the league table, and it just goes to show actually first 15 rugby really is the pinnacle of schoolboy rugby at the moment, as it should be. And it's an amazing representation of the sport we love, isn't it? And it's just fantastic stuff, mate. Listen, you've been amazing on here. Phil, I said off record, and I'm going to say on record, the greatest compliment I can pay you is the only game I've coached against NSB side, the boys were a super, super cohort, and that opposite for a very special cohort, as you said, internationals in there, academy players. But how well coached they were on that day at Twickenham, and that's the greatest compliment I can give you. A group of adults around them who cared for them deeply, but also had put all these structures and all these things in place that had given them the best opportunity to shine. And you continue to do that, and I think it's just amazing. You've been an awesome, awesome guest on the pod. We thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you very much for having me, and also thank you to every rugby coach out there for putting on Saturdays, making it special to the boys and giving them what they deserve and some fantastic opportunities. So all DORs, all the rugby coaches, thank you to everybody.
Yeah, and I echo that, and you know, we can't finish without saying all the very best of luck for this weekend, Phil. I mean, it's going to be a titanic game. Best of luck. I'm looking forward to your WhatsApp coming through at the end of the game and letting me know what's going on and what your thoughts are. And then for everybody, all of our listeners, you know, thank you for all your support throughout this term. We will be back in 2026 with Beyond the Try Line again for the next Daily Mail Trophy. We'll be back next Monday as well with Rob Wildman from the Daily Mail to talk through a bit of the history. We'll be unveiling the winners, although they'll already know, but we'll be unveiling the winners and talking about the season, maybe talking about some of the past winners, and looking at the future of the Daily Mail Trophy. But to everybody out there, I echo Phil's words. You're all doing a great job. Enjoy the Christmas break when it does come. And I know some of you are flagging and you're over the line, and you were at Seaford on Tuesday, and now you got this game. You had under 14s yesterday. But that's testament to all the hard work that everybody puts in. But listen, I've been Phil Greenaway. He's been Phil Beaumont. He's been Russ McCluskey. Have a great weekend, and Phil, best of luck to you and the boys, and I hope it's a great weekend for you all up there.